Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show, and this is whole new territory now, as we've kind of evolved past the, I'm just going to sit here asking standard kinds of questions, because Paige has been on now 4 times.
Am I your first 4B?
Yes, and nobody's come on for a third yet either. Actually, Jess is going to be coming on for a third time coming up, so...
I can't get enough. I'm always here.
There you go. Now, to explain the difference, what I'm going to be doing now. So it's not that I didn't want to come up with a 4th set of questions, but I thought this would be interesting. On my 3rd round interviews, I'll be asking people what their... Like, if they were teaching a film class, what films would be in their curriculum? And Paige brought up old school Hollywood, like the makeup and everything, and talked about Lon Chaney.
Okay, but this kind of, we kind of got off from that. Like, we started there, and then we, like, went to my childhood. It's a good segue. Yes,
and so that's why you're tuning in for Paige being interviewed about Phantom of the Opera. And we double featured the 1925 Phantom of the Opera starring Lon Chaney, 24.
Lon Chaney Sr., just to be clear.
And the Joel Schumacher directed, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Phantom of the Opera from 2004, which has way too attractive of a phantom, but we're not going to complain about Gerard Butler being in this movie.
And, like, by the way, it's like 10:30 at night, and we, like, just watched them, like, now. Like, we just turned them off.
They are fresh, and we're ready to go.
They're as fresh as the wound in my psyche. Okay.
I feel like that was created by this particular one.
Okay, let's start there because I hate it.
So, in terms of speaking about this, so obviously this all came out of the question about what your class would be, your curriculum, if you were going to have a class dedicated to film. What made you pick the original Phantom of the Opera starring Lon Chaney Sr.?
Okay, so our original kind of like train of discussion was that, you know, I feel like I should hold this up. I always was really interested in, like, Lon Chaney because he's like the original Hollywood monster makeup guy, and apparently, like, a lot of the techniques he used to create, like, his famous monsters, like, to this day nobody really knows how he did it, and it's so crazy to me that he can create this, like, grotesque, like, still to this day, in my opinion, kind of scary, very realistic looking ghoul with, like, you know, I read that he, like, stuck clothespins up his nose and, like, put cotton balls under his eyes and, like, just, like, used stuff he had lying around the house to create this look. And I thought that was just insane to me. And I just thought that was really fascinating. I'm very interested in, like, the birth and the infancy of cinema. And I would argue he, you know, at least in America, he was the original Hollywood makeup person. There
you go. And watching the film, it's still, like, Paige, why do you think that scene still works so well? You know, the big reveal of, like, bam, there's his face.
Surprise, bitch, you know.
Exactly.
He doesn't say that, but...
If he did, it would be even more memorable.
Did they have the word bitch back then? In 1925?
I feel like that was a word.
They might have said, like, bitch as in, like, female dog. Like, I don't know if they was like, oh... You know, as a derogatory word.
I don't know. That time period might surprise you.
What was the question?
The question was, why do you think that scene still works so well in terms of that big reveal of his face?
I mean, I think... That's a good question. So I think the shot itself, especially for the time, is kind of innovative, you know, because at that point, movies were still being filmed like they were basically just stage plays. Like, it was very static. The camera didn't move around a whole lot. And so having a creative shot basically where, like, the camera is almost like looking over their shoulder into a reflection, and she's behind him and she pulls off the mask and he's like I think that camera shot slaps, and it still would slap today.
Well, and I think it's interesting too because that you don't see a whole lot of deep focus like that because you have him in the foreground, camera over his shoulder, her coming up to him, and that was like you probably take that kind of shot for granted in 2022.
I know I did.
Yep, but like this was literally 98 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a reason, like, back then, that shot was not something that you saw every day. And especially because, like, this is one of the first real, like, substantial films that I saw in, like, chronological history of film. Because, like, up to this point, most of the films that I own, which I do own this, most of the other films that I own that's actually older than this are, like, I don't know, 8 to 20 minutes. And, like, a lot of short films and stuff like that. And, like, this is... My box lies. The box on this DVD says this is an hour and 34 minutes.
No, it's like an hour and 48 minutes.
It's an hour and 48 minutes.
It's so long.
Well, and we'll get to that in a second, but, Paige, why do you think that this film in particular sits as, like, a classic in film history?
I mean, okay. TBH, I don't know if I would personally call it a classic. I think some of the techniques in it are foundational and like integral to modern cinema. The movie itself like is not that good to a modern audience. I found it, we were all very distracted, like talking, like not really watching a lot of it. But the elements I think that do make it like integral to modern cinema, obviously, as we talked about, Lon Chaney Sr.'s makeup job, which like is fucking insane. Like he was just sitting around like, oh, I'll just shove this up my nose, whatever. I also think in the masquerade scene when they have the footage is colored red, which if I remember correctly, they had to hand paint every single frame red. And like again, to a modern audience, you're like, this looks like shit. What just happened? But to the audience in 1925, it would be, I think, a very like striking visual cue of like, oh, this is the red death. Like the Phantom is the red death, and I think, again, like now we don't think twice about it, but that I don't want to say it's the first. It's obviously not the first use of color in film, but it's like a very innovative choice to make.
Well, I think it is legitimately one of the earliest forms of use of color in film.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the earliest, but it's definitely one of the earliest.
We're not putting our reputation down on any specific claims here, so don't take that. But in terms of, like, yet again, you take those kinds of things for granted today, that you can just use color as a way of expression and symbolism in a film. When you were in black and white, you don't really have that option. But they went and painstakingly did that to the actual film to make sure that this film was able to convey that. And I think between your points of Lon Chaney and some of the technical aspects of this film, it really works. Yes, not gonna lie, not all of this film really engages. And which
it could have been like an hour shorter. Like it really.
This probably could have been one of those 30-minute movies. Which also I want to preface this specifically. So I have the silent film classic version of this on DVD, and I'm 100% sure they've probably had more remastered versions of this. Because this is a 2001 DVD from Alpha Video Distributors.
Yeah, they've definitely made a better version by now.
Yeah, and we were sitting there thinking about the music, which we'll definitely talk about music as an integral part of the story in other fashions, which I think Paige will enjoy a lot more.
I have some hot takes about this.
But I don't think the score, whether it was the original score or whatever score they wound up putting over this film, really fit. There's a lot, actually like 90% of the time the score didn't fit. The mood of the scene, it didn't match the pace of the scene. And it just felt like, well, we need to put some music on in the background. You know what we should have done? Muted it and put on some John Carpenter score, because that would have made it so much creepier.
Oh my god. Literally anything would have been better. No, I definitely, I would be surprised if that was the original score. That sounded just like music they found in like a dumpster.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was. And
like elevator classic music.
And I think that specifically captures how important music is when it comes to film and sound.
That's so true, Shane. That's so true.
Okay. So, I think we've said enough specifically about the 1924 Phantom of the Opera, which...
Okay, so, yes, I agree. It was 1925, right? Okay.
Unless my DVD's lying about the date, the year too, along with the runtime, because what does that say?
That says 94 minutes, which it
definitely was not.
Was not. No, but also I would at a later date like to actually like do a little preparation and like talk about the history of Hollywood monster makeup on a different episode. And
I think that would be a cool one. And we'll watch some more movies that we could add some more layers to it. My suggestion was Nosferatu. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But this isn't my class.
No.
This is Paige's class.
So I'm going to have two classes. I'm going to do an actual more academic class, and this one is just... This is just for me.
So at this point, Paige is indeed the professor that's going to keep changing the syllabus during the semester.
No! Okay, we can have two different classes. I mean, whatever.
This was the extra, not mandatory session of class where we're going to be talking about, segue into the 80 years younger film Phantom of the Opera, which is based off of the Andrew Lloyd Webber actual musical, directed by Joel Schumacher of, what is it, Lost Boys?
Batman Nipples.
Batman Forever Nipples and Batman and Robin's Nipples. And A Time to Kill.
He loves nipples.
And I'm pretty sure Phone Booth. Pretty sure he did that one too.
Oh yeah, I think so.
With Colin Farrell. So, starring Emmy Rosen.
Emmy Rossum? She's Fiona on Shameless.
Yes. Patrick Wilson and Gerard Butler, the much too handsome Phantom.
He's so handsome. I mean, they're all good looking. They're a good looking bunch.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be the Phantom.
Okay. So I have so many thoughts about this. So I don't think my mother will ever watch this, but if you are watching this, Mom, I'm sorry that I made you take me to see Phantom on Broadway 4 times. I'm sorry I made you buy a mirror that looked like the mirror in the movie for Christmas for me. It's still in my house to this day. I'm sorry you had to hear me sing along to the soundtrack of this every day for like 2 years. So, I love you, Mom. Thank you. But, suffice to say, I'm obsessed with this musical, this movie, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, Paige, what do you think makes this film in particular stand out compared to some of the other adaptations of Phantom of the Opera?
I mean, there's only the Claude Rains one, right? Other than this,
well,
which I haven't seen.
Straight up specific adaptations of Phantom. Because, you could go on this long laundry list of, like, Jess and I keep bringing up Phantom of the Megaplex, which is a Disney Channel original movie where it takes place in a movie theater.
Okay.
Instead of a...
That doesn't count. That's whatever. I don't think there's any other film adaptations of the musical. I don't know.
I don't believe so.
So, this is it. So, I don't understand your question, I guess.
Well, I guess what adds to the story in terms of... So, like, even going back to, like, obviously this story didn't start out as a musical story.
Right.
It started out as a trashy novel. Mm-hmm. And then got turned into a, I guess, creature feature from the
basically.
20s. And then continued by Universal, who made a Claude Rains version of said creature feature. Mm-hmm. And then in the 1980s probably?
Yeah, early 80s, Andrew Lloyd Webber was like,
let's make a musical.
I'm on coke and I have a wife who can hit a high F. So let's have her sing in this. Yeah.
So what about the musical aspects of this really elevate the story?
Okay, I never said it elevated shit, okay? I just like it. I'm so annoying. I don't know why you keep having me on your show. So I think if you kind of like take a step back and look at it objectively, this is like a really weird. It's a weird choice, I think, to turn into a musical. Like, yes, it takes place at like an opera house, but like, I don't know if I like saw. I've read the novel. I don't know if I saw the 1925 movie. I'd be like, this needs to be a musical. Like, it's. I feel like I would play it more as just like a straight like psychological horror film than like, oh, let's turn it into like this not really scary at all pulpy
Campy,
musical. Yeah. Like I don't really think there's horror in this musical like at all.
It's like thriller at best.
Yeah, like
at best.
At absolute best.
Yeah.
But there's never a moment, in my opinion, in the musical or in this movie where you're like scared. You're more just like, oh my god, like, can people really not see this dude in his cloak coming from like 10 miles away? You're just like, alright.
I think the most terrifying thing is how uncomfortable the romance is in this movie.
Okay, again, this is a hot take that I shared many times while we were watching, but the thing that annoys me so much about this, as we were watching it, I'm like, why don't they just be a throuple? Like, why do the Phantom and Raoul have to, like, fight over Christine? Like, they can all just date. Like, what? You know?
Well,
because she clearly likes both of them. She's into it.
You could tell from the second that the Phantom opens his mouth, she is extremely interested.
She's in it. It's like Niagara Falls down below. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's into it. And I think also, like, you know, I like Patrick Wilson as an actor. Like, I think he's like, good in this. Like, I don't think he's bad, but I feel like, and again, it's not even if I was just looking at Christine and Raoul's relationship in isolation, I think I'd feel a little differently. But to me, it's a little bit like, you know, Christine is clearly so fucking horny for the Phantom. And then when Raoul comes along, they don't have that same tension. And so I feel like her decision to leave with him at the end is kind of like, you don't fully buy it, in my opinion.
Well, I guess the question is, was it really her decision by the end of the film?
Yeah. So I guess, like, I mean, she's definitely, I feel like it's definitely a tug of war between the Phantom and Raoul, and, like, Raoul wins, I guess. So yeah, like, I definitely feel like there's not a lot of, like, agency for her in that moment, if that's what you're saying.
Well, because I feel like in the moment, it's the Phantom being like, they just had this really, like, point of no return that whole entire song.
It was very horny.
Yeah.
They're in horny jail.
Yes. Even at the beginning, during the actual performance of the Phantom show, when Raoul's just, like, tearing up in his eyes because he's just like,
he's getting cucked.
I just lost her.
He's
like,
getting cucked.
Hard. And the Phantom's the one that's like, no, you have to go. Because, like, he's having that such a poignant, emotional moment with her. And then you hear the mob in the background. And I think in that moment it kind of settles in that it's like, I don't want to pull her into this life. They'll always be chasing me. You need to go. Just go.
But, like, first of all, they could have escaped. Like, she could have been like, alright, let's go. Because the mob doesn't catch him.
Well, but is he always going to be running?
Probably not. Like, it's the 1800s. You could just get on a boat.
But the second anybody sees him in the 1800s, they're like, oh my god, leprosy, or something like that.
Just get another Look, okay, I feel like it's also important to mention, by the way, because this makes the ending, it gives you a whole new context to the ending. And to be fair, this was made in 2004 when this hadn't happened yet. So Andrew Lloyd Webber, I believe in 2013, made a musical, to The Phantom of the Opera called Love Never Dies. And I did see, like, a recorded performance of it. I didn't, like, go see it in the theater. Are you familiar with it?
Just what you told me before we started recording. So.
So it's set, like, 10 years later, and it's in America, and basically you find out that, like, the night that, you know, the climax of the film happened, pun intended,
There was a climax.
There was a climax because apparently Christine somehow like, and the Phantom somehow had sex that day. They sing a whole song about it, and then like, she has a son. She's still married to Ralph, but she has a son, and like it turns out the son is the Phantom's, and then Christine like dies at the end, and the Phantom's like a single father to this kid, and so that. And, like, it's very stupid. Like, I enjoyed it, but it's so fucking stupid. But the point to me is, like, I almost find that more believable than, oh, yeah, she just was like, well, I'll just, like, be with little white bread Rel forever.
So, based off of the ending, he obviously was always watching her.
He was.
Do you think that he was a side piece?
Well, I think... I think that...
Now we're going full-blown Phantom fanfiction here.
So I feel like you can't really say that because this movie was made in 2004, and so the ending does not make sense with the addition of, like, the Love Never Dies musical.
Yeah.
So, like, I think if this movie was made today, they would...
Incorporate
or maybe
that.
they'd ignore it. I don't know.
Maybe they would just be like, screw that.
Yeah, I mean, the musical, it was...
Stupid.
It's if you think this is campy, like... But, so obviously, like, the ending of this movie and the sequel musical are incompatible. No, I don't think he was a side piece. In the context of this movie, I think he was just, like, a stalker. But she never moved. Like, she never left Paris. She's like, well, he'll be chasing me forever. And then just, like, didn't go anywhere.
She wanted to be found.
Yeah, maybe he was a side piece, Shane. Oh, my God.
So, Paige, what do you think are the elements of this film that stand out the most, that make this such a fun time?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for keeping me on track here.
Yes.
I appreciate...
It's my job here.
I appreciate the structure, because I'm just like, I'm going all over the place. What make it stand out in what way? Like, why do I like it so much?
Well, obviously, you enjoy this film quite a bit.
Yes.
So what are the specific aspects of this film that makes this so much more enjoyable than this?
Okay, so I have two answers to that. I think on just, like, a purely objective level.
Yeah.
Obviously, to modern audiences, the 1920s style of filmmaking, which, as we said, is, like, black and white, no sound, very static, horrible film quality, like, that's automatically going to be inferior to most, modern movies, like, just purely because it's less physically watchable.
And as Paige is talking about this, I'm trying to see if there's a more remastered version of this film.
Yeah.
But continue.
Okay. But you're not listening.
I'm listening.
All right. Your viewers are listening, because I'm sure this is fascinating. No, but also, and obviously the soundtrack, like the Phantom of the Opera music makes sense with what is going on at that moment, whereas this just had this weird...
Let's just, whatever B-roll of orchestra music that we have, let's put this over the movie.
Yeah, like, I can look past the other stuff that I just mentioned, because it's the 1920s, like, I get, I'm getting what I'm getting. It's a film from, like, 100 years ago, but...
Almost literally.
Yeah, pretty much literally. But the discordant soundtrack really is what killed it. I could have dealt with it if it wasn't for that soundtrack, I think. So,
if you could only pick one song from this film...
Wait, I didn't finish answering, though.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, but I think what actually makes me, like, so obsessed with the Phantom of the Opera, I think partially it's, like, nostalgia. Because, when I was 12, like, I didn't get the context to be like, oh, like, the Phantom's, like, practically a serial killer and should be arrested. I was like, oh, like, he's this cute, he's Gerard Butler's, like, cute, and, like, he is in a cape, and, like, oh, he, like, loves her so much, it's so romantic, and, like, now as an adult, I'm, like, call the police, but, so I think the nostalgia of that, and also the song slap, the costume slap, the cinematography slaps. That was a deliberate mispronunciation, but I don't think anyone gets it. The cinematography is amazing. And it's just like it's a fun movie. I don't think there's any parts where it lags. So, yes, that's it.
Which it was interesting because multiple conversations going on while watching this movie. Mm-hmm. One, what's the definition of a serial killer? Because
so he kills 3 people in the movie.
He does indeed. But was it over the course of at least a month?
Yes.
And that's the question, because honestly, I don't know if I was paying enough attention to try to dissect what the actual timeline was.
I can tell you this. So he kills the dude who kept him captive as a kid.
Obviously, much longer.
Obviously, years past between. Then he killed that guy
Gibbs from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, get him. He killed the stagehand. Yes. And then in the Masquerade song, they mention that they haven't seen him for 3 months. And the Masquerade song takes place after that murder, doesn't it? Or does it not?
It does indeed.
It does.
There you go.
Yeah. And so then he kills one of the male opera singers.
Stamped serial killer.
No. But then the debate became between the 3 of us. We're gonna get put on a list. The debate became between the 3 of us. Well, the FBI definition is that you have to have some motive, usually psychological gratification, but it can also be anger, attention seeking. Mm-hmm. There has to be some sort of psychological gratification associated with it.
He's an angry young man.
Yeah, and I would say that killing someone who is keeping you prisoner and starving and beating you, I would call that self-defense. I would not call that murder in the legal sense. So therefore, I don't think the Phantom of the Opera is a serial killer by the FBI definition.
If you ever wondered, there's our assessment.
Nobody asked. No one was wondering, but we answered.
Well, the only one wondering was probably my fiance Jess.
Yeah.
Who was the one who brought this up in the first place.
But we figured it out.
And then, obviously, I care a lot about award shows and the Oscars and stuff like that, which Jess and I are going to be recording a video for the channel about, do award shows matter? Obviously, it matters to me because I kept looking up, what did this get nominated for?
Nothing, right?
It got nominated for cinematography.
Cinematography?
I said cinematography earlier. Cinematography. And now she's giving me shit because she thought that I said cinematography or something. This lost to The Aviator, which that became a debate as well. What's a better film, Phantom of the Opera or The Aviator?
Not The Aviator. The Aviator's not bad, but there's nothing that compares to this.
If you want to hear a whole entire video about my thoughts, along with Joe and Matt's thoughts on The Aviator, you should check out one of my episodes of Welcome to the Wasteland, and here's all the shameless plugs you could possibly get from my channel.
That was a sweet plug. Good job.
Thank you.
Seamless. Truly.
There you go. But, so this lost cinematography to The Aviator. I'm pretty sure all the nominations it lost were all to The Aviator. It got nominated for production design, which it lost to The Aviator. But for some reason, this did not get nominated for costume design.
Which is insane. Objectively insane.
Which is objectively insane. Yeah. And The Aviator was nominated. Series of Unfortunate Events was nominated. Ray was nominated. One of the biggest things about this is, this is showing a bunch of operas. Which, it's all about the costumes and the makeup and all kinds of stuff like that. So, I find it very interesting. But obviously...
I think also, I don't want to speak for you, but, I think even if you hate this movie, you can't deny that costumes are, beautifully designed, very eye-catching, colorful, I think they do a great job of having, a cohesive color palette for each set of scenes and costumes.
The Masquerade sequence, which Fosse...
fucking slaps!
Which Fosse's it up quite a bit.
Ugh!
The whole stark black and white, and then, as we talked about earlier with the Red Death, when the Phantom shows up all in red, those are so important and integral to the story, what's going on. Totally. And it doesn't make any sense to me that, how did this get nominated for those other technical aspects, but then they're just you know what? No. Did they have costumes? Did they have costumes on? It's just
Yeah, it's so weird to me. I don't even care about awards or award shows, but that was strange to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, I am going to go back to that question that I tried to ask earlier.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay. So when it comes to the music, what's that one song from this soundtrack that, like, if you have to pick one song to listen to from this film, what's it going to be?
Ooh, oh my god, that's like asking me to choose between my children.
Go ahead, Sophie. Make your choice.
Well, Jesus. Too soon.
Too soon from when Sophie's Choice came out, or the Holocaust?
Yeah, I'm not answering that question. I'm gonna get canceled. So, okay, I will, not to be pedantic, I think it's a little hard because, which I also think is a strength of this movie, the songs do flow into each other.
That is fair.
So there's a bit of like, okay, where does one song end and the next begins? I guess you'd have to check the soundtrack for that, which I do own.
I'm pretty sure Point of No Return's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, because
it just keeps going.
Because I remember that from when I was listening to the soundtrack. It starts at the beginning of Don Juan Triumphant and then ends with the mob.
Yeah,
like
arriving.
So it's like, that's what I'm saying, like, that to me, it's not a whole song.
They sing that song in like 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah. That's really hard. I love musicals. I think it's the rare musical where I feel like you couldn't cut out any of the songs without damaging the story. I know I'm not answering your question. I'm stalling for time. I don't know.
This is where we ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
Here.
I know, man. Okay. So I think... I think I would have to say the title song, The Phantom of the Opera, because it's just, again, I know I've been overusing this word, but it slaps, like, there's nothing like when that first, like, organ note hits, and you're like, whoa, like...
When they whip the cover off of the chandelier at the beginning, and it's just like...
It's so fucking hardcore. And
then when Christine takes the Phantom's hand for the first time, and it's
like, oh my god!
Like, bam! There it is.
So you just feel it in your sternum. But I think, it's very catchy. Like, I think it's a very, like, catchy song. The actual scene where they sing the song is just ridiculous. Like, she walks through the mirror, then she's on a horse for 30 seconds, then they get in a gondola. There's like 8... The candle budget on this movie must have been insane. They're in a gondola, then they go to his little, like, weird candle sex island, and she faints, and it's like...
Which,
it's
another full conversation was, where does his 20,000 Frank's budget go to each month? So we
figured out that it's like in modern currency, it's like $2,800. No, it's like $3,500 a month. That's what
candles. All on candles.
It's like, what are you doing with that money?
I said
candles. You're right.
I said he was spending it on all the ink that he was using to write all those letters to everybody.
He writes several passive-aggressive notes.
Yes.
Like several. But no, I think the titular song... Am I saying that word right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that song is... It's just like... It's so good, and I feel like it really... How should I say this? I feel... No, it does laugh, but I was saying, like, I feel like there's this musical kind of build-up with, like, lighter songs, and that's kind of, like, to me, the musical, almost, like, the first kind of musical climactic point where, like, oh, like, I'm in for it now.
Yes.
And then...
I think it really captures the spirit and the energy of this film because, this isn't supposed to be like a light-hearted story at the core of it.
It's so dark. So edgy. That's what I thought when I was 12.
It's one of those kinds of things where it's just like, I'm dark and edgy. Except that you're just a 13-year-old who shops at Hot Topic. But...
Hey! I was, though.
But it's like, it's still dark and edgy. It's just campy. Mm-hmm. But the thing is like, so is the song. It's dark and edgy, but it's also campy.
Yeah.
So it really captures the spirit of this this story, of the show, and, you know, it's awesome. And
also, I think Okay. So I think also, you know, people make fun of the Phantom of the Opera and like, oh, but like, the notes that Christine has to hit at the end are extremely technically difficult to do. Same with the notes at the end of Think of Me. And like, same with singing the Point of No Return, because singing in that like minor key, like on key, is difficult. Mm-hmm. So like, I think also there's that opportunity, like, you know, the actress, whoever's playing Christine, really gets to showcase like, oh, like, you actually have to be able to sing to play that role. So I like that part about it, too.
And if you ever want to hear a really cool version of the song, on YouTube, Sarah Brightman, Antonio Banderas.
Oh, yeah. Sarah Brightman, the original Christine, and Andrew Lloyd Webber's ex-wife.
Awkward.
It's so awkward for them, I'm sure.
And anybody who's ever seen, like, half of Antonio Banderas' films knows that he could sing.
I didn't know he could sing. Like, he can actually sing, like...
Yes.
Is he better than Gerard Butler?
Well, the thing is, I only heard him sing Phantom of the Opera. So, like, I would have to hear him sing the other songs. Mm-hmm. But, like, he sings in Desperado. He sings in Shrek.
But in Shrek, he more like Rex Harrison's it, I think, when they're singing La Vida Loca.
He's also in the musical Evita.
Okay.
With Madonna.
This is like news to me. I didn't know Antonio Banderas could sing, actually.
He's a cinematic treasure.
He's a cutie.
Who is also completely wasted on Uncharted. But that's just fresh in the back of my mind. Because I literally just saw that yesterday. But, so, I have a fun question.
Okay. This whole thing is fun. I love getting to talk about this.
So, obviously, there's at least 3 cinematic straight adaptations of Phantom of the Opera. And then all the other movies that basically take the idea of Phantom of the Opera and twist on it. Mm-hmm. Phantom of the Paradise, Phantom of the Megaplex.
Which is good. Definitely not good, I'm sure.
It's that, like, nostalgic fun watching. I used to watch this on Disney Channel. Original kind of thing.
I'm boycotting it.
That is your prerogative.
Yeah, I'm boycotting it.
So, we're making a new Phantom of the Opera.
Do I get to cast it?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Oh, look, here's your son behind us. Yes. I insisted he was in this.
Yes, so meet giant squishy Grogu over here.
Don't fucking be like that. It's Baby Yoda. He's baby.
His name is Mr. Grogu. There you go.
He's our handsome little man.
I made the decision to make that joke halfway through saying that, so there you go. You're welcome.
God.
So,
I'm in pain.
First off,
okay,
who is your Phantom?
Oh my God. Okay, so my answer changes depending on if the actor has to sing or we can have it dubbed.
Let's say they actually have to sing.
Okay.
Like, all of the performances in this film are going to be actors doing their actual singing and their acting. Mm-hmm. So we can't overdub their acting either.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't... Well, okay, also, to be fair, this is a little hard for me to answer because I don't really know which actors can sing sometimes. Like, Antonio Banderas, like, that was news to me.
Chris Pine can sing, apparently.
Okay. So let's just pretend they can probably make it work. That's the assumption we're going on. So, oh my God, I've never thought about this. So I think the Phantom, he's like a little older than like Christine and Raoul. I mean, my first thought is Hugh Jackman, but I feel like Hugh Jackman his energy's like too friendly. Like he can't. I wouldn't buy him as like a psycho.
Then you haven't watched Prisoners.
Oh fuck! I have seen Prisoners. I don't know. It's not, but still like. I don't know if that's like the right exactly vibe that we're going for.
That is fair.
Mm-hmm. I could see Oscar Isaac.
If he could sing, I think that would be really interesting.
I think he can sing. Because I feel like he could have... I feel like he could bring...
I know he could dance.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ex Machina.
That's true. But I feel like...
Move.
He
Sorry. Continue.
he can move. But I feel like he could bring this, like... He would bring the sinister energy that I think you need to bring to be the Phantom. Because Gerard Butler... I don't think he's sinister. I think he's, like, pissed. I don't know if he's definitely, like...
He's brooding.
He's brooding, yeah. I feel like Oscar Isaac could, like, take it a little darker, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he can make it a little scarier.
I feel like if you took Gerard Butler now, he would definitely be considerably more intimidating.
That would be... But I feel like he's, like, too old, I think, to be the Phantom. But I don't know.
Unless you went the Universal horror route. Because, like, Claude Rains was, like, a middle-aged dude at that point filming that film. So,
I guess technically the Phantom can really be any age. Like, it gets creepier the older he gets, but, like, he doesn't have to be.
We could go full creepy.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be, like, a certain
He's supposed
age.
to be creepy to begin with, so at least go full-blown creeper.
But my ideal cast would be, like, you know, kind of how they did it in this movie, where, like, the Phantom's the oldest, and then, like, Raoul's a little younger, and then Christine's, like, a little younger than that. Because I think that dynamic... I think that dynamic works.
Yes.
So I'm going to say Oscar Isaac. Because I think he could take it real dark, I think.
So, what walking piece of wood is going to be Raoul?
Oh, stop.
At least that's how he's written. I'm sorry.
Leave Raoul alone. Look, when I was younger, I was like, oh, Raoul, like, he's so boring. But now as an adult, I'm like, he's the only person with 2 brain cells to rub together in this entire fucking movie. No, he only has 2. Like, let's be fair. He still has dumb bitch disease.
Yes.
But, like, I'm like, wow, like... He's the only one who tries to solve this, like, at all. And it's like, this isn't okay. Like, the opera owners are just like, well, guess this is it now. And he's like, no.
Oh, my God. I just had an epiphany. And not, like, Sweeney Todd epiphany. Muppets. The Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, my God, that'd be kind of cute.
And
except not, you could do one scene.
Statler and Waldorf.
Stop.
Are the ones who buy it.
Oh my God.
Buy it. Gonzo is 100% the Phantom.
Stop it.
Kermit is Raoul.
Stop it.
Miss Piggy has to be Carlotta, right?
Miss Piggy is Carlotta. Miss Piggy is Carlotta in my adaptation. No other Muppets, like no acknowledgement that she's not a human. It's just fucking Miss Piggy. No one ever says anything about her being a Muppet.
So now I want this to happen. Seriously want this to happen.
Oh my God, that would be so fucking funny.
But getting back to you, so who's going to be Raoul in your Phantom?
Chris Pratt. He's a little old, but I feel like...
It works.
I feel like it could work.
Yeah, that works. That checks out.
Yeah.
Who would be Christine?
So that's tough. I feel like Emmy... I think it's... Is it Rossum or Rossum?
I thought it was Rossum.
Okay, we're going to go with Rossum. I think she did a really good job because she's like an actually classically trained opera singer, if I remember correctly. And I think she's a good actress. Like, you know, she's Fiona in Shameless. And so I think she was the only one out of the main 3 that I had no critique of, really. Which is ironic because she was like actually 16 when they filmed this. And I think she does the best job. But now, like, I don't know. Like, I need your help with this. I don't know any, like, young actress. I'm, like, blanking.
I feel like it would turn into one of those kinds of things where they get, like, an actual singer kind of thing.
Olivia Rodrigo. What if they made her Christine? That they could take it that direction.
I'm not sure I know who that is.
Can she? She sings Good For You and Driver's License. Look her up.
I'm a 30-year-old man, and I'm sitting here.
Oh my god. I think she has the, like, look. I think.
Okay, so she's in High School Musical, the musical,
Yeah.
the series, on Disney Plus. So, okay.
But I don't know if
She's 19.
I don't know if she has... I don't know if she has the technical skill to sing some of those songs. Because I feel like Christine's songs are also by far the most vocally demanding, in my opinion. I don't know. She's going to be my answer, because I think I think that would be... I think the three of them would have a fucking weird dynamic that I would really enjoy.
It would be very interesting.
Yeah, like...
So, are we making Chris Pratt grow his hair out, or is he going to wear a wig?
Oh.
That's a real question.
He needs to grow his hair out.
There you go.
Because, like, Chris Pratt's such a fucking, like, doofus. Like, in real life, he's, like, a jerk, apparently.
So... the last two roles that I want to hear who you're going to cast is specifically the two men that buy
oh my god.
Because we already cast Miss Piggy, right?
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Miss Piggy is Carlotta. I will not hear otherwise. And again, no mention that she's a Muppet. Like, playing it completely straight. Like, Key and Peele. Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be amazing. Oh my god.
They could, like, rock that, don't you think?
100%. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I've seen Keegan-Michael Key in musicals before.
Okay.
He did that Jingle Jangle one that came out on Netflix 2 Christmases ago. And he was a lot of fun. He was a villain in that. And you know villain songs are a lot of fun.
Yeah. And also, but also, like... The owners, like, they kind of sing talk, so like, you don't have to be super vocally strong.
Exactly. Oh my god. I'm down, 100%. But I want to see your movie, and I also want to see my Muppet movie, and Miss Piggy being in both of them.
Okay, yeah.
Or mine, the only human is Carlotta. Like, they just traded them.
Yeah.
So, if we're going to do that, then we have to cast Carlotta for...
What about... okay, so I think... By the way, though, I will say in this movie, the person who played Carlotta, Minnie Driver, they did have a professional opera singer do hers. Yeah. So, I would say we can do that for Carlotta only. Okay. That's my... Because they did it in the Joel Schumacher movie. So, like, what about Melissa McCarthy?
She would 100% fit in my Muppets version of this.
I don't mean she looks like Miss Piggy. I'm saying I think... Like,
no, I feel like she would have the energy that would fit into a Muppets version of Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. Who I had in mind was... Oh, what's her name? She was just... What the hell was that show that I was watching? She was in... Now I'm blanking.
It'll come back to you.
I'm trying to remember. I just watched this British show about paramedics. And it's like it's a 6-episode series because, you know, it's a British show. So it only has 6 episodes.
They can't commit, those Brits.
And she was also just in that horror thriller that came out with Keira Knightley and Matthew Good in it. Why am I not looking
Silent Night?
So, yeah.
She was in Silent Night?
She was... Oh, yeah, Lucy Punch.
Oh!
Yes! She's in... Oh, she was in Into the Woods. I remember her from Dinner for Schmucks. And just remembering how big and obnoxious that she is. Yeah. I just feel like she would have so much fun being Carlotta. I don't know if she can sing. If she can, then we'll let her. Yeah. But if not, we're just going to use the same audio from this movie. Same exact audio. Just play that over.
We should not ever be allowed to direct anything. I will say, okay, so I know Olivia Rodrigo was my choice. However, if they actually have to sing, I was kind of just thinking as we were talking, like, I don't think Olivia Rodrigo could do it. Her voice is pretty low. Right? Like, the song...
Well,
you don't even know who the fuck she is.
Yeah.
So, I've heard, like, 3 songs by her, so I'm like, I could be talking out of my ass. But I think they might have to pick, like, an unknown person for Christine Daae. Like, I think that'd also be a good vehicle.
Yes.
Because, like, that's what they did with Emmy Rossum.
Did they do that for West Side Story?
Yes. Rachel Ziegler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of thinking her. But, like, if they did the same kind of idea...
Yeah, like, she can do it. I don't think she has the right...
Like, to be fair, this is an opera.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta... So... Oh, no. Oh, now I might have to fire Gonzo. So...
No!
So... Because who I immediately thought, for some weird reason, and I mentioned this to Jess watching this, while we were watching this, was I want to see Jason Segel be the Phantom.
Yeah. Which, like,
and
no.
He would fit in a Muppets version.
He would.
Doing his voice that he does the Dracula the musical from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Scratch that, so Jason Segel, only human in this Phantom Muppets movie, and he is the Phantom. And he's literally like 10 times taller than any of the Muppets.
He's been in a Muppet movie, hasn't he?
Because I was literally just watching the Muppets with my friend Bobby last night.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, so Jason Segel
Am I a man? Or am I a Muppet?
He's a man.
He's a Muppet of a man. Muppet of a man.
He is a Muppet of a man. He's a floppy boy.
And he's a very man. Are you referencing certain things from Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
I'm not gonna answer that. So anyway, yes, Dreamcast, I think Christine Daae, I think we might have to find a new person, just because, like, I feel like that's not... I feel like it's too hard. If they actually do their singing, it's too hard for, like, a non...
We're going to go to all the opera houses and find an opera singer.
And I think also, like...
And then they get to hang out with Chris Pratt and Oscar Isaac.
Okay. Chris Pratt as Raoul is my favorite casting choice. But I think also, like, the reason I think Emmy Rossum worked so well is because, like, she's a very good singer. You know, she's very... pretty and, like, glowy, like, and I feel like she has a very expressive face. Like, she has that perfect mix of, like, oh, like, this is an innocent young girl, and she's like, but I'm horny, and I'm gonna let you know it.
It's like that innocent, doe-eyed, and then, like, as Gerard Butler's getting all up in her grill, singing to her, just like, yep.
That is the face she makes, but no offense, I love you, shit, but it looks better on her. But that is the face she makes.
That is very fair.
But it's like, yeah, she, like... I feel like it just strikes a really good balance, because I feel like, you know, in a lot of movies, like... Not to be, like, too... I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but, like... It's a good... I feel like any woman who ever shows any kind of, like, romantic or sexual interest ever, like, it... I don't want to say, like, they make her into, like, some sex crazed, like, slut, but I feel like it's not subtle. Like, I feel like this is actually pretty subtle. And, like, kind of realistic as far as the tiny amount of realism that is in Phantom. Like, I just feel like she does a good job with that.
Yes,
like, striking the balance between innocence and, like, oh, I'm having some tingly moments, you know.
I've never felt this way before. So, my last question for you, Paige, specifically about Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
If you could take one specific element from this original 20s version of Phantom and bring it into a modern version of Phantom, what are you going to bring?
Okay. So, that's a good question. So, obviously my first... So let's talk this out, like therapy session, which I clearly need. Let's talk this out. My knee-jerk response is like, oh, like, the makeup. Like, the Phantom's makeup, because, like, I really think, with only a few minor modifications, it could still look good today. Like, I really do. I also think, even if you change nothing else about the 2004 Schumacher film, and if you've seen it, you know that Gerard Butler is, like, his deformity is, like, it's not that serious.
No,
like,
it's like...
it looks like he's a sunburn, and, like, he's blonde. Oh my god, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, his... Like, he definitely is disfigured, but it's not to the point where, like... It's
still Gerard Butler.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Like, it's not. Look it up. Like, it's... Come on. However, obviously, clearly, the 1924-25 Phantom is totally grotesque. So I think... And I think if you brought Lon Chaney Sr.'s Phantom into Joel Schumacher's 2004 film, like, that would... Changing even nothing else would change the film so much. It would change the tone of the film so much. Because, like, when you're watching this, you're like, okay, Gerard Butler, like... Yeah, he's like a stalker and kind of a serial killer, but, like, I'd hit. But with that, you're like, whoa, like, he's an actual monster. And I think rightly or wrongly, you know, we as viewers definitely are more forgiving towards Gerard Butler's Phantom because he's hot, you know? And it's like, all right.
So
I think... As I'm answering your question, like, I don't think I would bring in that element. Because I think it would take away what I like about the movie. Which is like, oh, like, it's like a gothic romance. Like, with Lon Chaney Sr.'s, it's just a straight up horror movie. In my opinion.
I thought of an interesting idea. So what if it's like a fake out? Of like, because in the Lon Chaney one, the big reveal is him at his piano. And they do that in the Andrew Lloyd Webber one pretty early on. Except he's like covering his face. Yes, he's just covering his face.
But you don't really see it. Yeah.
What if she takes it off and he's kind of normal? And it's just like, oh, maybe this is just all in his head. But later in the film, when that bigger reveal happens, he actually has prosthetics on. Oh! And then it reveals, like, straight up ghoul-looking guy. And then you're in the third act of this movie when that gets revealed, and she's just been digging on him the whole entire time, thinking he looks all handsome, and then just like, no, he is not.
Okay, I wouldn't want to do that, but I think that's, like, a gloriously, like, fucked up idea. Like, maybe with Oscar Isaac... we could do that with Oscar Isaac.
Yep.
Because I don't feel like, I love you, Gerard Butler, if you're watching this, like, good for you. However, I feel like Oscar Isaac is a way stronger actor than Gerard Butler.
He definitely has a lot more range.
Yeah, and, like, he just can really convey a lot of, like, subtleties that, like, I'm sorry. Gerard,
I don't think I would ever call Gerard Butler's acting subtle.
Which is fine. Like, I love it.
Like, if you throw on, like, a mid-tier action thriller and Gerard Butler's in it, it automatically makes it slightly above mid-tier for me.
Yeah, like, he's, for the roles he's good at, he's great at. And, like, I think he's good in this, too, because it's, like, schlocky.
He elevated Den of Thieves and Cop Shop that have come out in, like, the past, like, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And Greenland, honestly. That disaster movie, I'm like, I give a shit about Gerard Butler here.
Sure, no, But I'm saying, like, I don't think with Gerard Butler specifically that works. I think if you want to take it, like, a more sinister route...
because then he's really messing with it.
Yeah, because that's, like... Dude, that's fucked up. Like, I'm kind of scared of you now. Like, that's really fucked up. So, and I think in Schumacher's film is very, very heavy on the gothic romance camp element. I think if you brought that into this, it would be like, whoa. Like, it wouldn't fit. So, that's not my answer. So, my answer... That's sort of the only thing I liked about it. I think that and also the use of color, but, like, Joel Schumacher's film does a great job with that. I think the use of color, especially in the masquerade scene, like, really good. You know, I think I don't know. Like, I think, and...
Do you just leave it? Leave it with its legacy that it has and just kind of move on from it?
I think these movies are just so different. Like, I think even if... who directed this, by the way? I actually don't know. I know who starred in it. I don't know who directed in it. Who directed it?
Rupert Julian.
Okay, Rupert. I think if we were able to make Rupert Julian's movie in, 2004, I still think this is definitely more of like a straight horror film.
And honestly, I think at this point, with like where Phantom is in like the cultural zeitgeist of our country, I don't think people would be prepared for like straight up just horror movie monster Phantom of the Opera.
Now, are we bringing... So are we assuming that the same songs are like...
You can bring whatever you would want from this into this.
Okay.
Or just bring it in and make a new Phantom and like... Because the thing is, it's like you do have... Like, this might just go against what I just said, but like you do have the freedom to just make an adaptation of the novel. But like... I feel like there's a lot of baggage at this point.
Yeah, like
and if
this is like,
if like somebody goes in and is like, where's all the music? It's like the opposite of what they try to do with every other movie musical, like Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods, where they're just like, the trailer showed no music.
Yeah.
And then people went and was like, this is a musical?
Yeah.
It's just like, no shit.
Like, I don't, if they remade Phantom today and there was no music in it, I don't even think I'd see it. Like, honestly. I mean, I probably would so we could talk about it, but...
David Eggers. No, it's not David Eggers. Robert Eggers makes Phantom of the Opera after The Northman.
Okay, but like, I think your idea is super good. I think if we made my fantasy one with Oscar Isaac as the Phantom, and we had like that sort of like first act where he takes off his mask and he like looks a little
off,
janky, but you're like, this is what he's so freaked
Still
out
Oscar
about.
Isaac.
Yeah, and then the big reveals that he looks like a ghoul, like, but like the same music, that would fuck me up. I'm fucked up just thinking about it.
And if she was still into it by that point too.
Ew! And that would be the best part if she was like, I'm still gonna make out with you.
So I think one of the biggest differences
You're fucked in the head. That's fucked up. I love it though.
Well, thank you.
I will watch that movie.
Is the ending. Because like they beat him to death in the end of this.
Yeah.
Like, he gets away in this, just in time for him to be a total creep at the end of the movie. Like, even shit on Christine's grave. But, like, the mob gets him, chases him down, and he shows his true colors.
Yeah.
They're very different characters. You can tell,
totally.
Like, whether it's true love or infatuation or whatever you'd like to call it that Jared Butler's Phantom has, he has it sincerely for Christine all the way up until the end, even after she's dead.
Yeah.
This Phantom shows his real colors of, like, he abandons her to save his own life, or at least try to save his own life, because that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because they beat the holy hell out of him and just yeeted him into the river. So, and it's interesting, it's like, I feel like that ending would be so tragic in this Phantom.
Yeah.
Because, like, on some level, Christine still loves him. We kind of do, too. And and I think that's what makes it work on some level.
Yeah. And, like, I think also, and again, maybe overanalyzing, but this is what this is for, I guess. In the 1924 Phantom, like, he makes a lot of references to, like, her purity. And, like, he literally says, like, your purity arouses me.
Yes.
Like, verbatim.
Like,
yeah, which is, like, okay.
Which he's like, this is why he's just a straight creep and monster in this movie.
And he's like, you belong to me. And not the Phantom doesn't say anything. He doesn't even mention her, like, purity or youth or anything. He talks about...
I think it's more implied obsession and possession.
Yeah. But the things he talks about, like, her voice and... that he, like, what he wants to do for her, which, like, is basically, like, obviously I want to, make your voice better, but it's also a metaphor for sexual awakening. Like, why not both? So, like, I think he's definitely still an obsessive and possessive
Yes.
creep, but, like, as you said, like, there's sincere love for her as a person, I think, where this is just, like, he's very ghoulish, like,
Yes.
views her as, like, a possession. I don't know, what do you think?
I do think there is, on some level, a more pure connection in the musical version of this. This is just straight uncomfortable.
It's so weird.
And both of them are manipulative, obviously, because, like, they're both playing some mind games with her. But, like, this is, like, this comes off feeling much more predatory and dirty.
Yeah. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I read the novel, but I feel like in the novel and then the 1924 movie, they also imply more that he has some kind of, like, supernatural influence maybe over her. Or, like... or, like, that he... Like, I think it's sort of... You're sort of like, is he actually a monster? Like, a literal monster? Like, or, like, he's a magician or something? I could be misremembering.
It's all those parlor tricks.
Yeah.
All those opera parlor tricks.
In the 2004 Phantom the Musical, like, he's clearly a person. Like, you never think there's anything supernatural going on.
No, he's just a lonely dude.
Yeah, but I think
digging on a pretty girl.
Yeah. I think in this one, it definitely, like, I feel like there's that element of, maybe it's not even the supernatural, but more just, like, he just has her under some kind of spell, whether that's literal or metaphorical. And this seems to be more of just, like, a genuine relationship, even though it's fucked up.
He has a sexy voice. He could sing, and she's just all about it.
Well, he's hot, too. Like, come on. Like,
it's Gerard Butler.
Objectively, he's hot. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's, you know, and even, I know you didn't know this, I don't think, but even in the original 80s stage production, Michael Crawford was the Phantom, and, like, and obviously you're in a state, like, in a theater, so you're not seeing his face close up, but his face was very, like, you could see a little bit of the deformity peeking out, and his face was, I think, kind of in between these two. Yeah. Like, it wasn't the Lon Chaney Sr. ghoul, but it wasn't the sexy Gerard Butler either.
By the time I saw it at the Majestic Theater, it's like, the dude who was the Phantom was just, like, some handsome guy who can sing, and just has, like, half his face covered.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like...
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, Michael Crawford's Phantom was a little... It was more deformed.
Well, and you could even tell there was, like, a creepier and weirder, like, timbre to his voice and stuff like that. Like, it was definitely going for something different.
It was definitely a bit more ghoulish.
And then over the years, we've just been all like, we want sexy Phantom.
Yeah.
And
I think there's pros and cons to that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, going the Joel Schumacher, like, more gothic romance angle. Like, obviously I don't. I love it. But I think... And that's what I'm saying when I actually think about it. Like, having the Phantom be a true monster, especially in Joel Schumacher's film, would just, like, not work.
Yeah, you gotta get the tone right.
Yeah.
You gotta go full horror.
Yeah, I agree. But, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think...
Obviously, it wouldn't be fun. It would
still be fun. You can still make sex crimes fun. You should cut that out. Don't.
Oh my.
Yeah, but no, I think it's different.
I feel like this material's old enough where you have room to come at it at a different angle.
There's definitely sex crimes going on. Like, Christine is a teenager.
Yeah, he obviously has bad intent on his mind.
He's trying to fuck.
Yeah.
And, like, I think also, like, I think it's very deliberate, but, like, I think in the book they mention Christine as a teenager. I don't know if they say it in the movie. I wasn't, like, paying that close attention.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, and obviously in the Joel Schumacher movie, like, they don't.
And I feel like in the movie you could easily be like, oh, she's like 18 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah, Emmy Rossum was 16 when they filmed it. But yeah, like, if you told me she was, like, 20, I would believe you. So, like... But... like, knowing that the actress was 16 when they were filming it, like,
makes you feel
that kind of, like, I mean, and honestly, even if she was 18 or 20, like, it's still gross, even if it's not, like, illegal, I think, because, you know, Gerard Butler's clearly significantly older than 20. Like, he's clearly significantly older than her.
And also, like, he's coming at this where, like, he's mentoring her. That's still a uncomfortable kind of dynamic that you don't want to cross that line, and that just makes it, like, it just adds that layer of, like, ew.
Yeah.
Kind of thing to it.
And it's funny, because I think also, like, they don't really, I mean, so other than the fact that, like, they don't do this in the musical, the stage musical, but in the 2004 movie, they're like, oh, the Phantom was, like, a super abused, like, circus freak, and Madame Jury, like, rescues him and takes him to the opera house, and that's, like, his little backstory. But other than that, which, like, some sort of abuse could still happen today, I don't think, in the 2004 film at least, we really explore any, like, the culture differences of the 1890s that, like, if this was in real life, like, that would be a huge influence. Like, you know, back in the 1890s, like, I'm not an expert, but, like, I don't think people had the same understanding of, like, predatory sexuality as they do now. Like,
I think the same thing is, like, Rao is just, like, I'm some well-off dude with status, and I'm like, I'm digging on this young woman. That's perfectly fine, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, this girl's 16.
Yeah.
Even their thing is a little weird, because, like, Patrick Wilson's definitely at least in his 20s.
Yeah.
So, like...
They do also say that he and Christine were childhood friends, so I think the implication is that they're very close in age. They're clearly not, but that's what they're trying to do. But I think, like...
you know what? Not to bring up a sore subject, but, like, they did the same thing in Cyrano.
Oh, yeah. Like, Peter Dinklage's, like, 50.
Because, you know, Peter Dinklage and Haley Bennett are anywhere near the same age. Yeah. But they were childhood friends.
They're not. Like,
so, like, they're expecting the audience to suspend some form of disbelief, and it's just like...
Okay, I could buy Patrick Wilson and Eddie Rossum are childhood friends.
That's much
I
closer.
could buy that.
I'm not buying Peter Dinklage and Haley Bennett being childhood friends.
Like, no offense to Peter Dinklage, he's very handsome, but he looks
like he's 50.
Yeah, he looks his age, which is fine, but, like, he ain't no one's childhood friend.
Unless it's another 50-year-old.
Yeah, not in that movie. But I think, like, to me, and I can't really speak to the 1924 movie because I don't think it's, like, their dialogue is like index cards. They don't really have any room to explore those kind of themes, but, you know, it's, yeah, like, literally. But I feel like in the 2004 movie, like, there's nothing from the 1890s which would realistically influence this whole thing really happens. Like, you know, obviously you can't really keep kids chained up as circus freaks today, but, like, you could easily change that to, like, oh, he had an abusive stepfather who made him, like, work in the field, who beat him and tortured him. Like, you could very easily change that. And, like, that's just, like, not... And the social dynamics are not explored at all.
And the Phantom's just going to wind up on Hannibal.
Yeah, but, like, I think... I don't know. I think they probably... Like, the dynamics are obviously problematic, but they're definitely modernized. Well, yeah, in my opinion. Like, we're not supposed to be like, oh yeah, this is in the 1890s. Like, I think it's very modernized.
I think Joel Schumacher directed Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera is a great time. For me personally, I'm not going to argue this is a great film.
Yeah.
There's a lot of script issues here.
Okay.
But...
Can you tell me what, like, from a film critic standpoint,
so, like, if I'm legitimately critiquing this, I think really Christine and Rao are both really boring. They're really boring characters.
Interesting.
Because they don't get a whole lot of depth. Like, nothing. It's just, like, the purest, like, this is attractive. I'm going to quote Spider-Man, his landlord. I am a good woman. You're a good woman. I am a good man. And that's basically it. That's their connection. The Phantom's a lot more interesting character.
Yeah.
And obviously...
He gets all the character development.
Literally. I think he's the only character that gets any character development.
Yeah.
Because all the supporting... other supporting characters are just, like, caricatures.
Yeah.
And, like, silly, fun, like the guys who buy the the opera house feel like Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
Like
they might as well be
Muppets.
Like,
so,
it's fun, like it's funny.
Exactly.
But no, there's the only person who has a character arc is the Phantom. Like even Christine doesn't have that much of a character arc.
No, and that's the thing. Like there's not a whole lot of depth that they explore in this film.
Yeah.
It is a lot of style over substance. It's a lot of music over plot and character development. And that's why it's a fun time.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why I love Greatest Showman. I think that's a fun time.
Yeah.
But then the more you think about it, P.T. Barnum's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like...
Yeah.
Easily, casually just letting Rebecca Ferguson's character be all up in his grill the third act of the movie and just like... And then you also have to take a step back and think about, like, dude's buying people.
Yeah, like, that's like,
and, like
that ain't it.
And it's just like,
It's really not.
There's something problematic about this.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like... And then they try to throw in some social commentary with, like, Zac Efron and Zendaya kind of thing. Just like... But yeah,
sure.
I still think this is a better film than that.
Yeah.
But, like, still, it's a lot more of, like, fun.
Yeah.
And over, like, I'm not going to, like, this definitely deserved its technical aspects it got nominated for. Mm-hmm. This isn't getting nominated for any, like, screenplay Oscars. Yeah. But, like, that's the thing. I just don't think that, like, I don't even think they were aiming to get a whole lot of depth or anything to this movie. They're just, like, they wanted to, which the thing is, I don't think the stage play really is either. No. That's why it's a big blockbuster musical on Broadway. And you'd have critics say the same exact thing about most Andrew Lloyd Webber productions. But, like, you know, it's a fun time. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I'll listen to this music over and over again.
Yeah. No, and I think even what I was talking about, where I'm talking about, like, oh, like, I thought, you know, Emmy Rossum did a good job with, like, the kind of balance between, like, innocence and, like, sexual awakening. Like, but that doesn't, like, that... You could argue that is kind of a character development for her, but that doesn't really go anywhere.
No,
they
don't.
It's very static.
They don't explore that on a character level. Mm-hmm. It's more of just like the physical. Like, I think there's some good acting going on here.
Yeah, they have good chemistry. I think.
I don't think they have a whole lot to work with from like a character standpoint. But like, basically, her job is to like look attracted to two different men in this movie, and she does it. And then she has to sing, which is much harder than the one thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, I would argue. I mean, not that I'm saying singing's not hard, but like you can't fake chemistry, and I feel like she and Gerard Butler have great chemistry, and I feel like she and Patrick Wilson, like, not that they don't, because I feel like Patrick Wilson's a good actor, and so he really tries.
I just feel like Rao is just such a That's why I made a joke about a piece of wood earlier, because like he's just a blank slate, and it's just like the most boring love interest.
He's smooth like a Ken doll down there, you know, like that's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
And I think, like, and that's what I mean, like, I think, to me, like, even as, like, a 12-year-old, I didn't maybe verbalize it like this, but, like, to me, a true love triangle, there has to be a compelling reason for both pairings, you know what I mean? And, like, to me, it's, like, I guess Rao's, like, you know, not, like, a weirdo who lives in the sewers, but he's also, he doesn't fuck. The Phantom fucks, you know? And, like, she's, like, 16, and so when you're 16, like, you're gonna go with the one that fucks. You know what I mean?
You hear to hear, folks. Like, this. Oh, and it really does come down to it.
Okay, but am I wrong?
No,
I'm not wrong.
So,
This is the hot film analysis you came here for.
Exactly. But when it really comes down to it, it's just, like, Rao's not that interesting. He's just a safe choice.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a creep who's been stalking you for almost your whole entire life.
Yeah, he, like, asks consent before he, like, kisses you. Like, that's... Which, like, is important, don't get me wrong, but... I don't know. I think I haven't watched this movie in a minute. I think I actually developed a little bit of love for Rao because, as I said, I'm like, he's the only person who even, like, is a little...
Well, that's the thing, too. Everybody else is so underwritten. They're just completely incompetent for this movie to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, there's no critical thinking here.
None. like, think about if, like, the owners of the Opera House, like, had 2 brain cells. They'd be like, wait, like, hey, we should probably, like, go send the police to look for this dude in the sewers. Like, we shouldn't just be like, well, we gotta keep box 5 empty and the opera singer, we'll switch him out. Like,
what? Exactly. Like...
Yeah, like, in real life, they'd be like, we need to find this dude. Like,
they're like, damn, we have literally no other option than to pay this man.
And to put Christine in the starring role instead of the opera singer who is trained and has been here for years. Like,
yeah. Even though she's annoying.
And, like, you know, like, and Christine does dumb shit, too, where she just, like, Raoul's, like, standing guard outside her door while she sleeps, and she just leaves and, like, goes to her father's grave with, like, this guy who's obviously the Phantom driving the carriage, and, like, she doesn't tell anyone where she's going, and then guess what happens? Like, the Phantom follows her, like...
And sword fight.
Like, and I can forgive it because of the nostalgia and, like, the music, but, like, a big pet peeve of mine in cinema is plots that only make sense if the characters have no critical thinking skills. And I know there are people like that.
And legitimately, nobody in this movie is thinking.
Like, at all.
So, and that's how this movie happens.
Yeah.
So
it couldn't happen if people had any common sense. And, like, I can buy, like, if there's some characters who have no common sense. Like, I have no common sense, for example. But everyone all the time never having a critical thought, like, that's not believable to me. Except in the Phantom of the Opera.
And there you go. But Paige, do you have any last minute thoughts before we wrap up this show?
I feel like I've talked for like 3 years. I'm sorry. This is so much fun. Yeah, I definitely think, like, I would genuinely love to see kind of a third adaptation of this musical where, like, it was a little more sinister, a little more horror based, like, not just a straight, in my opinion, like, romance.
Yeah.
But I think there's a reason that I think this musical is the longest running musical on Broadway, and, like, the costumes are amazing, the song slaps, it's a great time, it's kind of weird, it's kind of sexy, and
they did it much better than Cats.
Yeah, and you don't have to think about it, and Cats. You don't have to think about it, and it's, like, a great time. So, I'm obsessed, 10 out of 10, that's the tea.
And there you have it, here on Lost in the Wasteland, as we take our first dive into part 1 of Paige's film class here. So I'm looking forward to getting some more people on here for the 3rd interview so we could start more things like this.
Yeah, I'm, like, on the show, like, all the time.
And I enjoy it every time.
I love it. No, I love it. I want to keep doing it, but...
And maybe we'll continue to go through Paige's nostalgia. Maybe we'll look at other films with, like, old school Hollywood makeup and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or we could do more musicals. I don't know, but you're all going to have to tune in and find out.
I think we should compare Hannibal across media. That would, like, that would involve the TV show. But, like, I can talk about that a lot. I know a lot about serial killers thanks to Hannibal.
So we could turn this into us talking about different adaptations of things and different approaches to
No,
things.
we're just going... This is a journey through Paige's psyche.
And there you have it.
Media.
So we're gonna specifically have a marathon of Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs, and watch a little bit of Hannibal.
The Ridley Scott and Hannibal, I love it. I defend it. We've gotten so off topic.
Well, no, we're teasing for future episodes of this.
When are you gonna get a fucking brand deal?
I have almost 700 subscribers.
I think you need... Well,
so I can monetize at 1,000.
Yeah, so after that you're gonna start getting brand deals. So, I'm excited for that day.
Spread the word. Keep helping me out. But Paige, thank you so much for coming on as always.
Thank you for having me.
We had a fun movie night and then we talked about it. So there you go.
It's like midnight. I need to go to bed. It's really late. What time is it?
It is indeed 11:49.
Oh.
So, thank you, Paige.
Thank
you, Grogu. And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.